Well, I'm excited that you're here because I'm doing something that I've wanted to do for a long time. I have no idea how it's going to turn out. I have said to Jane, this could be the start of something really good or it might be god awful. I do not know at this moment, but you're here for the ride, so thank you very much. Almost 10 years ago, I sat in a room in Laguna Beach, California for 3 days that I still have not fully processed. The gathering was built around two teachers, Rob Bell. Look him up if you don't know him. He's a former pastor, one of the most gifted communicators and thinkers I have ever encountered in my life. Had the chance to be with him 2 weeks ago. He's unbelievable. And Father Richard Rohr, the Franciscan priest and contemplative whose work has shaped so many of us in this room in helping us develop or find a more spacious way of being Christian. So Rob Bell, Father Richard Rohr, 3 days, Laguna Beach, those two brilliant minds in the same room. It was incredible. There were insights and there were connections that were made in those 3 days that I'm still unpacking. But one moment stood out above all of the rest. Rob Bell sat down and talked for 2 hours about something called spiral dynamics. I had never heard the term. How many have never even heard that term? It's okay, God. Most of us never heard that term. I had no framework for it, but it blew my mind what he shared. It was that good. When Rob began teaching his sessional spiral dynamics, I did not know the name Claire Graves. That's the founder of spiral dynamics. I didn't know, had never heard that name. But somewhere in those 2 hours, something cracked open in me. Have you ever had an aha moment where it's like, aha, of course, that makes so much sense? Because it was the first time for me that some of the most confusing people in my world began to make sense. Not in a clinical way, not in a let me diagnose everybody at Thanksgiving kind of a way, but just in a sense of, oh, that's why things sometimes are a little bit rough trying to communicate with some people in our families. I understood why people that I love, people who share my history, my DNA, my story, could look at the same world that I am looking at and see things completely differently. Does anybody have anybody in their life that's the way they are? They just are seeing things so different. It's like, it's not supposed to be this hard, but why is it this hard? I realized that weekend that they were not crazy. These people were not stupid. They were not malicious. They were just operating from a different place than I was operating from. And it was a place that made complete sense, given them where they had been formed, where they were in their life. So I drove home from Laguna Beach and I didn't drive all the way to Atlanta. I drove back to my son's house in Southern California, then flew home processing it. And then I spent the next 10 years trying to figure out how to talk about it. Because churches don't talk about it. Corporate speakers don't really talk about it. There's not really anything great I have seen where someone has dove into the subject that was so transformational to me. Neil and I we got an audio from that day, and it was so poor that Neil spent lots and lots of time trying to process the audio over and over and over again so we could bring it to the surface enough that we could actually learn the things that had been so instrumental for me. We could not get there. It's not really a listenable thing. So I've been living with this material in my bones without a recording to lean back on. I have bought every book I could find on the subject, Claire Graves, Don Beck, Ken Wilber. I have been reading, thinking, and waiting for the moment when I felt ready to bring it to you, and I think now is the time to bring it to you. And I want to begin the way I remember Rob Bell beginning it that afternoon, not with a definition yet, not with a chart yet, but with a question. Why do people who love each other so often feel like they are living in completely different worlds? Why do people who love each other sometimes feel like they are living in completely different worlds? Have you ever had a conversation with someone you love and 10 minutes into it you realize we are not having the same conversation? The words are the same, maybe the issue is the same, the room is the same, but somehow you are living in two completely different worlds. You say something like, I think we need to include people who have been left out. And they hear you are trying to destroy everything sacred in the world. What? How did that happen? But it happens. You say, I think some of the rules need to be questioned. And they hear you don't believe in right and wrong anymore. What? What? Two different worlds, two different understandings of what you're trying to say. You say, I need to be honest about what I believe now, and what they hear is, you're rejecting our family. What? What? I'm not rejecting our family. You say I'm trying to be compassionate, and they hear you're abandoning truth. What? How does it get there? And before long, nobody's responding to what was actually said. Everybody is responding to what they feel threatened by. And once people feel threatened, the conversation changes. It's no longer about the issue. It's about personal safety. It's about identity. It's about the fear that something precious is being taken away. Now, for a long time, I thought those conversations broke down because people didn't have enough information. That's younger Ray. If I could just get them the right information, if I could get them the right books, then they would understand these things that have opened up for me that are so right. It's not a question of these things being right. These things are right. So obviously, I just have to get them more information. If I could just explain it better, if I could send them the right article, if I could get the facts in the right order into their brains, then they would understand. But what I've come to believe is that many of our deepest conflicts are not information problems as much as formation problems. We are not arguing about ideas. We are arguing from the worlds that formed us, from the places where we learned what was safe, who belonged, what was dangerous, what made us good, what made us lovable. And this matters because most of us assume that we are simply seeing reality. But we are not just seeing the world, we are seeing through a world. We are seeing through our family. We are seeing through our religion. We are seeing through our social class. We are seeing through our race. We are seeing through the traumas that we've experienced. We're experiencing through seeing through our childhood church experience. We are seeing through the stories that saved us, and we're seeing through the stories that have wounded us. In other words, nobody sees reality raw. All of us see through a lens. All of us, even the most enlightened of us, see through a lens. And that doesn't mean that there's no truth. It just means that humility is required. If we're going to be people of truth, humility is required, and it's required for our honest evaluation of ourselves as much as recognizing where this may apply in other people. That's a warning. As I get into spiral dynamics, the second session especially, it's going to be easy to say, those people are idiots. I'm glad I'm not there anymore. And that's not the right way to use spiral dynamics. The right way to use it is to see us in all of these stages and phases and developmental processes that we go through, being able to understand it, but see ourselves first and foremost and the limitations that we might have, the lenses that we might be looking through that might be affecting us. One of the most dangerous spiritual conditions in the world is not simply being wrong, it's being wrong while being absolutely certain that what I see is all there is to see. That's dangerous because there's more than just what any of us can see. There's a lot. There's a strange little story in the Gospel of Mark. I've never preached on this story. It's just one of those stories I never preached on. But it has become more and more meaningful to me over the last weeks as I've thought about this series. Jesus comes to a place called Bethsaida. and it's just a place that he does a lot of ministry. And some people bring him a blind man, and they beg Jesus to touch the blind man. So Jesus takes the man by the hand, he leads him outside the village, he touches his eyes, and he says, "Do you see anything?" And the man says, "I see people, but they look like trees walking around." So imagine this, Jesus, the great healer, heals this man and says, "What do you see?" And he says, "Well, I see better than I did, but people look like trees. They don't look like people." So all kind of preachers have taken these stories and tried to make sense of that. That's a real unclear. When Jesus heals somebody and he gets partially healed, what's that all about? The man is not totally blind anymore. He has had a real experience. He has received a real touch, but everything is still blurry. So Jesus touches him again. And then the text says his sight is restored and he sees everything clearly. Now, I have sat with that story for a long time. I've never preached it because I never really knew what to do with it. It's one of those strange stories of not knowing what to do. The man wasn't a failure. He wasn't being stubborn. He had a genuine encounter with Jesus. Something real happened to him. He's not who he was. He just doesn't see clearly yet. And I think most of us, if we're honest, we actually, and this is a new learning for me, live closer to that man than we maybe have wanted to admit. We have had real moments of grace where we do see better than we used to see. But most of us, if we're honest, need to admit we don't see clearly yet. There's still some things that we do not understand. We've had real moments of grace, real experiences of being changed. We're not who we were 10 years ago in that church we grew up in, or we left behind, or we're still trying to make sense of. And we look out and we see people, and we see them like trees sometimes. We see people, but sometimes they look like the position they hold. This is a danger. We see people, and they look like the position they hold, like the vote that they cast, like the theology that they defend, like the argument we have already lost patience with. Not people, trees. And what undoes me about this story is not the miracle, it's the patience that Jesus, he doesn't shame the man with blurry vision or hand him a corrective program. He touches him again. That's the kind of seeing that I want all of us to have, that seeing where we begin to see people more clearly. We begin to see them with more empathy from our hearts. We begin to see them more the way I believe God sees all of us. So, over the next few weeks, I'm going to introduce you a new way of thinking that helped me understand something I had felt for years but could not quite explain it. It's called spiral dynamics. Don't let the phrase scare you. We're not going to turn Sunday mornings into a graduate seminar. I'm going to do my very best not to do that. No map. We're going to talk about maps, not today, but in future weeks. No map explains everything. Some maps can be helpful. The spiral dynamic map helped me understand why people who love each other, who share history, who share DNA, who share a church background, can still feel like we are living in entirely different worlds. Now, here's the basic idea. Human beings, families, organizations, churches, and cultures develop different value systems as they try to survive, belong, organize, succeed, heal, and make meaning. In other words, people don't just have opinions, people have operating systems. This will be helpful. And Bell didn't use this term, but this is a good term. If you've ever had a phone update, you know what happens. The hardware looks the same screen, same buttons, but something underneath has changed. The operating system is different. Now the same command maybe is not going to produce the same result. And for those of us our age, this is baffling to us on the upgrades. It's like, we just learned the last one, and now they have changed it on us. Well, human beings are like that. Same family, same Bible, same Thanksgiving table, but many are on different operating systems, and they are seeing the world entirely differently. This is where spiral dynamics can be helpful. It says that different stages of human development are organized around different core questions. Think of it as a series of rooms human beings move through individually and as families, churches, cultures. Each room has its own logic, its own fears, its own definition of what it means to be safe, to belong, to be successful, to be good. And nobody moves into a new room until the pressure of the old room is so great, they have to move into a new room. You don't leave a room because somebody argued you out of the room. You leave the room because life pushed you through the door, which means every room somebody is standing in made complete sense given the life that put them there. Here's something that might help you put it into perspective. If you go back as far as human history allows, for most of that vast stretch of time, people shared essentially the same operating system. They saw the world through the same set of eyes, the same values, the same fears. Imagine almost prehistoric man. Imagine them looking around and what they feared. And life was about getting that catch so they could eat for another few days, or finding those berries that they could eat, but everything was geared by that. That was the operating system. But at some point, slowly over generations, something began to shift. There was a new way of understanding the world that started to emerge. And you can imagine what it felt like to those people that felt very comfortable with their primitive understanding of how things were. Some people were moving towards a new operating system, while some were holding tight to the only operating system they had ever known. And in between those two groups, there was tension. There was confusion. There was a feeling that the world was coming apart, that something precious was being lost, that something necessary was being resisted. Imagine the earliest human communities, small bands of people huddled together on a vast and dangerous planet. They had no maps, no medicine, no explanation for why the thunder came or why the river flooded or why people got sick. And sometimes people got sick and died. Sometimes they didn't die. Life was raw and it was terrifying and it was short. And the operating system that emerged made complete sense given all of that. Stay close to the group. Honor the spirits, follow the rituals, don't wander too far from the fire. The world is alive and it's dangerous, and we survive together or we don't survive at all. And then one day, somebody, let's just call him Gerald starts to notice something. He notices that the tribe always moves camp when the elder tells him the spirit demanded them to move. But Gerald has been quietly watching, and what he noticed was that the spirits seemed to demand a move right around the same time that the berries ran out. Every single time. He's beginning to put this together. Gerald mentions this to his friends, and his friends tell him, be quiet before the older elder hears you. But Gerald couldn't stop thinking about it. And slowly, quietly, a few others start thinking like Gerald. They start asking questions. They start wondering if maybe they had a little more agency over their lives than the spirits. They were believing that the spirits had given them. And the elder saw what was happening, and he was not thrilled, because to the elder, this wasn't curiosity. This man was introducing chaos. You're introducing a whole new way of understanding things. This could be the demise of our entire civilization. This was the unraveling of everything that had kept us alive. And he wasn't wrong. That system had kept them alive. But Gerald wasn't wrong either. He was seeing something afresh, and he was saying, maybe we need to think about it a little differently. But can you see the tension between those two groups? That's where we live right now. That's where we live. Thousands of years in the future, many different iterations of rooms people have moved in to help them understand the universe. We're going to talk about that next week. I think you'll be able to see it. It's incredible. People still living at all of these different places too, by the way, still. But we definitely are in a transition where a group has moved on. And there's a group here that's saying, what are you doing? This is the way we need to hang on to stuff. And we're way over here. And that's where the tension comes from. Each time a new way of seeing the world emerges, the same tension plays out between those moving forward to those that are holding on. That is the spiral that we'll be talking about. And here's why this matters for us right now in this room. We are living in one of those transition periods. Some people don't live in a transition period. Some people come along and for 200 years, it's kind of the same. Everybody kind of sees the world and the way the world operates in basically the same understanding. Not us, not now. We are in a time when it is moving faster than it has ever been, and there is a significant group of people, used to be 70, 80%, now it's getting less and less, and there is a group emerging, and that's where the tension is. Gerald's tribe never resolved those tensions. They just couldn't live inside them anymore. Some people moved into new rooms. Some people decided to stay in the old rooms, but the spiral keeps moving. And if you want to know where we are right now, if you want to understand why your Thanksgiving table feels sometimes like a hostage negotiation and why your Facebook feed sometimes looks like two different planets people are living on, it's because of that. We are Gerald's tribe right now. We are the tribe that is moving out and saying that way of doing things was good for when it was, but we are seeing something different. We are seeing something, and it's happened before. This is not like some crazy something that's never happened. It's happened before, but that tension of what's happening right now, it makes perfect sense. There's a room that shaped most of Western culture for centuries. It was organized around order. That was it. Around authority, around absolute truth handed down from a source higher than any individual opinion, around the deep conviction that there are rules given by God or by nature or by tradition, and that those rules are what holds everything together, and people are very ingrained in that sense. When you're standing in that room, the most terrifying thing in the world is watching those rules get questioned. Don't question the rules. The rules are what keeps us safe. Doesn't feel like a debate. It feels like when somebody questions it, the walls are about to come down. And then there is a room that has been emerging slowly at first and faster over the last several decades. It's organized around things like inclusion, around the question of, sorry, I just dribbled on that, around the question of who has been left out, around the conviction that the old rules weren't handed down from God so much as they were written by people who were already in charge. When you're standing in that room, the most baffling thing in the world is watching people defend a system that has caused so much harm. Isn't that something we look back and say, that system caused so much harm, can't you see that? And they can't, because it's the room that they have found their life in. They've not stepped into that next space. So to them, this is life. This is the way it's supposed to be. It's like they are tearing everything down. It's a tension that has happened before. It's happening now. Two rooms, two perfectly coherent ways of seeing the world, two groups of people absolutely convinced that the other side is either naive or cruel. And both of them, if we're honest, are only seeing part of the picture. That's not an insult to either side. It's just the nature of standing in a room. When you're inside it, the room feels like reality itself. Sometimes it takes something like a crisis to help you realize, no, we're all in this together. And that's what happens. If a crisis happens, a 9/11 kind of a thing, suddenly we all figure out we're in the crisis together and we can hold hands. But barring a crisis, we are in two different worlds and we don't understand. Even though we're the ones, the understanding is primarily for us, those who feel like we have moved into the new room. We're the ones who have to look back with understanding. They don't get it yet. It is as foreign to them as anything. Until they're pushed out of that room, it is crazy to them. We're the ones that have to make it make sense. They're not stupid, malicious, or simply behind. They are standing in a room that makes sense to them. And they're watching the world shift around them and wondering what is being lost in all of this. That's the conflict we are living inside. And it's not new. It has happened before. Every time the spiral has moved, somebody has grieved what was changing, and somebody was straining towards what was just on the horizon. That's exactly where we are. I'll give you a simple little example. Years ago, my family recorded an album in a studio in North Georgia. My son Ray and I had to drive back up to the studio to finish up a few things, overdubs and some of the little adjustments that needed to be made. Kind of work that takes all day that you don't even think about when a record is being done. But by the time we wrapped up, the day was gone, the piano player asked if we could spend some time together. I was so naive. I was so stupid. I thought he was impressed with my singing and wanted to see if I would do some recording with him at some point. That's how crazy I was. What followed was so not that. He told me, I have seen your Facebook page, and he could not imagine how someone who believed what I believed could call himself a preacher or a Christian. Well, that just blew my mind. I thought we were going to talk about what a great bass singer I was, and it's like, that was not what I was expecting. But I didn't want to fight him. I wanted to understand him, so I started asking him questions. And what I noticed was that he wasn't particularly fluent in all kind of things, constitutional law or political theory. He wasn't super intellectual on any of those things. He wasn't making a sophisticated argument about the relationship between church and state. He kept coming back to things like, you can't even put a nativity scene up in the town square anymore, on the courthouse lawn. That was it. He was really bent out of shape, and it was that seemed like such a nothing to me. But as we were talking, something in me shifted. I realized that man grew up in a world where white Christians were the majority of everything that mattered. That was the majority. That's what they made the decisions, made the rules. You could pray at any public gathering and nobody blinked. The nativity scene on the courthouse lawn wasn't a political statement. It was just December. It was just the way life works. You put the nativity scene up in the courthouse square in December. That's what December is supposed to be. It's just the way things are. It was just order. It was safety. It was home. And then the world started changing for him. Nobody asked him. And places like Fox News and 100 other voices were there every single night to tell him what he was feeling was right. He should be afraid. He should be scared. Something sacred was being stolen from him, that the walls were coming down, that people like him were being erased. So here, an uneducated man is processing life, and the room that he has only known his whole life is now feeling like it is coming down. Can you understand why he would have trouble when we talk about some of the things that we talk about? It's like, that's not where he doesn't have any place to process that. He just knows what he knew. Every year since I was a little boy, we went to town square, we saw the nativity scene. Now they're saying that's wrong. Why is that wrong? He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. So when I tried to explain why a diverse, multicultural society might want to keep religious symbols off of public property, I wasn't making a legal argument. I was without meaning to threatening the last few things that still made the world feel like home to him. We were not having the same conversation. Ray was mesmerized. My son Ray is like just mesmerized that we were in such different places. That man, though, wasn't crazy. That man wasn't stupid. That man was standing in a room that had been his whole world for 60 plus years. And he was watching somebody take the furniture out, and he didn't understand. Now, I didn't change his mind one bit. He did wish me a happy birthday this couple of weeks ago, so at least I'm still on that list, so that's good. But something happened in that studio that I have thought about a lot since. I stopped seeing him as someone who needed to be corrected, and I started seeing him as someone who was afraid. And that helped me. That's what this spiral dynamics map gives you the potential to see, is to see people and say, that's why they think that way. By the way, spiral dynamics is taught in the State Department, at the State Department level, because people going into foreign countries need to understand, if you're going into the Middle East and you're going to be dealing with Iran, or you're going to be dealing with Saudi Arabia, you're going to be dealing with places like that, it is super important to know where they are on the spiral, how they process things. It is not the same as liberal Americans in the 21st century. It's not the same, and understanding the spiral is very helpful, and they have found that that's something that it's a good way to understand it. That's what the map can do. Not to win the argument, Please know the next 2 or 3 weeks that we're together, it's not going to be to give us the information so we can win the argument, we can knock the fundamentalist out. It's so we can hopefully have, well, Terry says I'm out. I wanted to get I saw that instantly. It's like, dang it, I wanted to knock the fundamentalist out. But it's not going to be that. It's going to be so we have some compassion in our hearts. So we, who have had the touch of Jesus, recognize there's still some places we see people like trees. We see them like a policy issue that they're on the wrong side of, in our opinion, or we see them like prehistoric people with just stupid thoughts, and it's like they can't be that blind to reality. It's going to help us hopefully see them more clearly. So the next time a conversation starts to go sideways, before we defend ourselves or before we send them the article or before we raise our voice or we decide the person across from you is hopeless, we're going to ask ourselves some questions. For example, what value might this person be protecting? Safety, belonging, tradition, freedom, justice? Or another question, what fear might be underneath their reaction? Is there fear of chaos? Is there a fear of rejection? Is there fear of being wrong? Is there a fear of being erased? Or third, what would love sound like in a language that they can understand? What would love sound like in a language they can understand? We've talked before about something, it's a silly little thing, but it's called love languages. Are y'all familiar with love languages? It's helpful that everybody's got a love language. Many have 2, 3 love languages. And how in love relationships, if your partner's love language is Ukrainian and you only know how to speak broken English, y'all aren't going to connect. If their physical touch is their love language, and you have none of that, but you have quality time, but you're not willing to touch, then you're going to be misconnecting. Same thing, you're going to understand they have a language that needs to be spoken. How can we find the language to be able to reach them? Quickly, let's go back to the story of Jesus in Bethsaida for a moment. Jesus touches him, and the man opens his eyes, and he says, I see people, but they look like trees. He's not blind anymore. Something real has happened. He's received a touch from the Lord. He can see, but it's not clear yet. And here's what gets me every time. Jesus doesn't shame him. He doesn't say, what's wrong with you? I touched you. Why aren't you seeing correctly? He just touches him again. And I think that's partly what this series could be for us. A second touch where we say, I get it. Because more than anything, don't you want to be loving all the time? Don't you want to be able to see through the eyes of love? Doesn't mean that you can't have difficult conversations, that you can't fight for what's wrong, that you can't stand up for the underserved or those who are marginalized. All those things are a part of our life, but that we do it from love. And people sometimes say, Ray, the way you handle stuff on Facebook or whatever, listen, I struggle all the time with seeing it initially through the eyes of love. My first response is almost never that. But I want it to be that. I want to be that enlightened so I can see people through the eyes of love every single time. But we still see people like trees sometimes. We see them as positions before we see them as persons. We see them as problems before we see them as human beings. We see them as threats before we see them as the beloved. And they are the beloved too. We're the beloved, they are the beloved. And sometimes that's hard for us to grasp, but they are. So Spiral Dynamics didn't fix that in me. 10 years of thinking about it didn't fix it in me. 3 days in Laguna Beach with Rob Bell and Richard Rohr didn't fix it, but it did help me see more honestly. It helped me look at someone I had written off and ask, what are they seeing through? What lens are they seeing through? What question are they trying to answer? What are they protecting that at once in their life felt like it was keeping them safe? What are they dealing with? And something in me softened. Not because I agreed with them, not because I stopped believing what I believe, but because I stopped mistaking my partial vision for the fullness of reality. That's all the series is going to try to do. Just give you a ladder to climb not to give you a ladder to climb up above everybody, but to give you a way to see people, really see people. So I'm just going to be praying today that we have that second touch from the Lord that says, yeah, let's learn this spiral dynamics vision to be able to understand. There's all kind of cool stuff. I can't wait. Some of the cool stuff. We all revert back to previous parts of the spiral. When people are in addiction and they're living on the streets, they are operating in that initial first system that people, that survival, that's where they go back to. All of us, we will go up and down the spiral depending on the circumstance we are in. That's going to be real informative. And the idea is to transcend and include. That's going to be a big line. Transcend and include. Don't write off. It's so easy to say, God, we used to be in that room. That's the stupidest room in the world. Have y'all noticed how stupid that room is? Well, we were just in it. We were living in it. Our parents lived in it. Everybody that we knew lived in it. We just now are seeing things a little differently. So don't write it off. Transcend it and include it. Include those things that are helpful to you. Include them. Transcend and include. All right, that's enough. It wasn't awful today. It'll get better. It'll get better. I promise. And Neil's going to have slides for us the next time we gather. It's going to get better. Well, let's just hush. Let me pray, all right? Thank y'all. Thank y'all for being with me for this one, all right? Maybe that's the prayer we carry out of here today. Just not complicated praying, just the prayer of a man who could see but not clearly yet. God, help us. Help us. So, Lord, touch our eyes again. Touch the way I see my family. Touch the way I see the people I have given up on. Touch the way I see the people who gave up on me. Touch the way I see the ones who stayed and the ones who left. Touch the way I see the people who believe differently, who vote differently, who live differently. And touch the way I see myself. Because the goal was never to see the whole spiral perfectly. The goal is to keep becoming the kind of person who is still willing to say, I see, but maybe I don't see clearly yet. I know, but maybe I don't know fully yet. I love, but maybe not wisely enough yet. God, touch our eyes again. Teach us to see clearly. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. I'm going to ask John if he'll come and sing a song we did a couple of weeks ago as a closing song. If you can pick up on it, sing it with him. It's a song about how we all are holy people.
Have you been told you're a sinner? Have you been made to believe that your life is some kind of problem that has to be fixed or redeemed? You can come out of your hiding and lift up your beautiful face. It's safe to take off disguises. Wherever you are is more than okay, 'cause you are not a mistake. You are beloved, you are enough, you are accepted, yes you are loved. No separation, there's no divide. A perfect creation, fully alive. You are God's glory, you are holy. Oh yes you are. Now there is no condemnation, there never was, it's true. Let go of all hesitations. There's nothing to worry, nothing to lose. Oh, you have nothing to prove. 'Cause you are beloved, you are enough, you are accepted. Yes, you are loved. No separation, there's no divide. A perfect creation, fully alive. Yes, you are God's glory. You are holy. You are holy. We are the image of Almighty God. We are holy. And deep down inside, and we know we forgot, we are holy. And we are the image of Almighty God. We are holy. And we down the road, somehow we forgot we are holy. Yes, we're beloved, we are enough, we are accepted. Yes, we are loved, there's no separation, there's no divide. Perfect creation, fully alive. Yes, we are beloved, we are enough. Yes, we are accepted. Yes, we are loved. There's no separation. There's no divide. A perfect creation, fully alive. Yes, we are God's glory. We are holy. We are holy. Oh, yes, we are. We are